I'm not up to the whole thing, but I'll do some.
Yeah, we're live. This is what day is today? Tuesday, the 17th of December, 2019. And I am sitting here with your t-shirt hanging over the back of the sofa. It says Never Socialism with the big gold V for victory. And folks, that's a great idea for a Christmas gift. And another Christmas idea is 28 Years to Nowhere. 28 Years to Nowhere, Larry's autobiography of the fight against the Clintons. And you can get both of those at nicholslive.com and click on the merchandise page. And we will say right here at the beginning, there's also the donate page with the direct link to Larry's PayPal, which is nicholslive@aol.com. And you can, his mailing address is there if you want to send cash in the mail. My cell phone number is there if you want to need another way to donate. So, all right, Larry, go ahead.
Well, I'm going to be here for a little bit, folks. I'm pretty beat down after Jason. It's hard to do two of these in a row, so I apologize. But today we're in a holding period again. We're sitting and waiting for the transformation from the impeachment to go from the House to the Senate. As I laid out on Jason's program, I'll lay out for those that weren't there. What's going to happen is simple. The House is going to vote tomorrow, I assume. That's what I think the day the vote's going down. The House is going to vote to move the thing to the Senate. They're going to vote for impeachment. When it gets to the Senate, the plans are at this moment in time, Mitch McConnell will receive the impeachment. He will receive it. And then basically, in my version of it, it's not the real words, but basically he will call the Senate to order. And he will allow then the House, through their prosecutor is what it'll be called, the person for the Democrats out of the House, they will present the case. Then a person acting on behalf of the president, person or people, they will provide the defense for the president. Now, at that point, the plan is that Lindsey Graham, I think it's going to be Lindsey Graham, is going to introduce a motion to have this thing summarily dismissed because of the irregularities that he's going to claim in the way the House handled this entire inquiry and impeachment. And it's very important that you understand why it's being done that way. He's not calling for a motion on guilty or not guilty. That's not what Lindsey Graham will ask, or whomever they have to ask that question. It may be, I'm sure it'll be him, but if not, it'll be somebody. They're not asking whether President Trump is guilty or not of the two charges brought against him. That's not what they're doing. They're saying that the standard for the House to put the case together to bring to the Senate was not proper, was not sufficient, or whatever claim they want to make. It's just they're complaining about the process by which this case was handled. And that motion being on that particular subject, the way the case was handled by the House, the vote then would be simply 51. 51, simple majority, 51. Now, if it goes on, and this is where it gets confusing, if the vote is to remove the president from office or not, if that's the vote, then it takes 2/3 of the Senate for that. You got it?
Larry, one question. 2/3 of the whole Senate, or 2/3 of those who are present at the time of the vote?
It will be 2/3 of those present at the vote as long as there is a quorum.
Now, what happens if a whole bunch of Republicans refuse to be there?
Then President Trump will be removed from office.
Right. And that's a worry, isn't it?
Well, could be. This gets into the debate of whether it should be a long trial or a short trial. Now, when I speak of long trial or short trial, the short trial to which I speak is to have a summary dismissal. That would be what we call a short trial. That's where they just have a vote that, due to the irregularities of the way the House put this case together, that the Senate doesn't even want to hear it. The Senate says, it was so shoddily put together, so biased, so corrupt, that it doesn't meet the standard for the Senate to even hear it as a trial. So that's a summary, and that's what we're calling the short trial. Now, a long trial is when you literally have a trial in the Senate, and that's when witnesses could be called, evidence could be brought forth, witnesses could be subpoenaed, evidence could be subpoenaed. And at that point, you run the risk of a whole lot of people being exposed for their participation in scams, much as the one Biden and his son are involved in. That will not be healthy for anybody in the room. No one. They all have fears that could lead to exposing them and what they've been doing and how they've done things. Now, when it comes to Schumer, who is claiming that they need to have these 4 people, as he's mentioned this morning, the 4 people like Pompeo, Bolton, and a couple of others, he insists that they be subpoenaed and forced to testify. Well, guys, let me tell you what Schumer knows, but he's doing it anyway. Schumer knows that due to their position with the president being cabinet level or above people, the Supreme Court has already ruled years ago that they cannot be forced to testify, that they are under executive privilege. So there's nothing Chuck Schumer can do to force Pompeo or Bolton or anyone that's at that level to come in to that Senate trial and testify. He cannot force them to do it. So you see, that's all just show. All Schumer is doing is setting up his base, giving them something to fire them up. The whole point of this entire impeachment is fraud. It's all fake. It's all BS. But you see, they're going to play it like, well, Trump got off, but he should be in prison. But he got off because all the Republicans covered for him. And just like they're going to claim Attorney General Barr is covering for him. Special Investigator Durham is covering for him. Anybody that comes out with any information other than Trump should be put in jail is going to be accused by the Democrats and by the mainstream media, viciously, I would add, that they were all covering for the president. They're all covering for him so that they can get their base so mad that their base will just know there's something they're hiding. There's some big secret that they're hiding. And that's why I won't let them testify. That's all this is about, y'all. That's all. But at this point, it seems best, as far as the people involved, it seems best, although it's not the wish of the president, but it seems best to bring it before a summary vote and get it over with. Now, when they get it over with through a summary vote, then we can all expect what's coming next. What will come then is the Democrats will line up another set of charges for impeachment. They'll do it all over again. And they will keep the president under the cloud of impeachment from this day until Election Day 2020. You can put that in the bank. That's going to happen. Which, by the way, you should know, I've told you they were going to do that since day one. It's never been about actually impeaching the president. It's never been about actually removing him from office. It's never been about that. It's simply been to destroy his campaign, they believe. So there. Does that help? I hope that helps.
Somebody says it's so annoying. Deep state has been exposed. Who do you think is running the shadow government and calling these shots? We know it's not Pelosi.
Mm-hmm. You know, folks, I would like to know more than I do know who we'll call the puppet master is. The puppet masters. Who are they? It seems to stem from a couple of things I've noticed, as I'm sure most of you have. There's a couple of places that always come up. Did you ever notice, folks? Always these two places keep showing up when it comes to people in high-level positions in our government. One, Harvard. Harvard. If you ran a poll of all high-level positions in Washington, and I'm not just talking about elected positions, I'm talking about, you know, the permanent professional career government people. If you ran a poll, it would probably shock all of us to the number that come from Harvard. Harvard. And then there's one other place that has their name everywhere you see powerful people. That's Goldman Sachs. What is it about these two places that give them such a dominant role in the power positions in our country? What is it about them?
Jane Doe is suggesting Skull and Bones, but that's at Princeton. Or no, that's at Yale.
Skull and Bones, I thought that was at Harvard, wasn't it?
Is Skull and Bones? Maybe it's at both schools. I thought GW went to Yale.
Don't get me to line. I'm not sure, but I believe personally, now folks, this is my opinion. Put it down as my opinion. Don't go spreading it around the internet world that I'm saying it as a fact. But I truly believe there is some super secret society amidst all of this. I do. And I believe in the area of a secret society, somehow Harvard and Goldman Sachs, and maybe Princeton and Yale, but I doubt it. But anyway, there is this society that these people go and they leave there and then end up in power positions in government. It's scary that it shows up so much. Anybody got a question, Mary Ellen?
Not yet, but you know, when we were looking into Priestap's wife and the connection, the fact that she and Zuckerberg were at Harvard at the very same time, and her family connections to Goldman Sachs, and then as soon as she graduated, she had a high-level, good salary job immediately. Yeah, several people are agreeing that Skull and Bones is from Yale.
Okay.
was a secret society. You had to be invited into that. You couldn't do it unless you were invited, and very few people are allowed into that secret society. But you know, the claim with several articles that I read about this group at Harvard, they were mentioning CIA connections as well. So here we've got our intel very much involved in, you know, what's going on with this. And the CIA was not supposed to be working in our country. They were supposed to be a foreign intelligence gathering agency.
Well, that's another one of those fuzzy areas. CIA has always had a presence in our country. They always have. Now, part of it legitimate. Some of the connections to overseas people, out of country people, obviously they've got some connection here in the States, so therefore they would cross over in that regard. But I think it's far deeper with the CIA. The CIA, as far as I've known, my exposure with them, and they pretty much go where they want to go and do what they want to do, because they have the incredible permission slip that everything they do is undercover. Nobody's supposed to know. You'd be amazed at how little people in our government, especially people in our government that supposedly are in oversight positions, how little they know about the day-to-day workings of the CIA. It would scare you. Any questions?
Jane asked about Valerie Jarrett, but I'm not sure what she's asking about Valerie. She said that she heard Obama is the new head of the cabal taking over for Bush, but she's not sure.
You know, I wonder about that. I wonder, and this is my opinion again, my opinion, I wonder what Obama's role in all of this is after leaving the office of president. What is his role? Does he have a role? Is he a part of what's been called a shadow government? I don't know, but somebody needs to find out. Somebody needs to find out. Now, I do know as long as Brennan and Clapper and that group, Comey, McCabe, Strzok, Page, as long as that group was active in our government, he was still very well placed within our government. But I don't know today. And it seems to be a question that nobody wants to ask officially. That's what we're hoping Attorney General Barr is to resolve. I can assure you this. Attorney General Barr and Special Investigator Durham, they are interested in investigating President Obama. Because remember, Attorney General Barr wants to know what started all of this. Where did it start? Who started it? And I'm speaking of the counterintelligence investigation into then candidate Trump. Who started it? Who authorized it? And there was only one person that could have authorized a counterintelligence operation into an American citizen, and that would be the President of the United States himself. Nobody below him. Now, Valerie Jarrett is a threat to our nation when she was in office, and I believe she is equally a threat today, even out of office. But I can't tell you what her role is. Any questions, Mary Ellen?
Stormy's concerned that the USMCA will take away our sovereignty. And there are several other questions, but that one was the last. So,
no, it will not. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I have gone line by line, word by word into that agreement. I have not.
I guess
But
it's
here's what I do know. Here's what I do know.
Larry.
President,
It's a claim by the John Birch Society, apparently.
well, what I do know is President Trump would not have anything to do with that trade agreement or any other that he knew would be detrimental to our sovereignty. Not that man, not President Trump. I have confidence in him for that. What else?
A couple of the questions. Has Barr indicted McCabe yet?
Has not. And I will repeat what I've said over and over. Do not rush Attorney General Barr. Do not rush him into some indictments that are coming. Remember, we still have the problem of once he indicts, he is committed to court. And we still have a huge problem having to do with finding a legitimate court that we could take any of these people in front of and get a fair judgment.
Yeah. Can Trump fire half the CIA, and will he if he can?
He can fire all the CIA if he wants to.
So why doesn't he?
Well, it's not that easy. We can't, with a broad brush, just go eliminate technically the CIA, period. And it would take some doing, which is part of the problem, which is part of why it takes so long to, quote unquote, drain the swamp. You have to do it wisely. You have to get rid of the bad ones. Pray to God there's some good ones and keep them. But it takes a tremendous amount of effort with agencies such as the CIA, the FBI. That's a massive project trying to establish who within that system or within those agencies is a good guy or a bad guy. It's not that easy. And it would not be wise, my opinion only, it would not be wise with a broad stroke of a brush to eliminate the CIA totally and leave us somewhat at the mercy of our enemies. But that's me. What else?
Okay, I'm just a comment I'm going to give Nick. Nick, I think it's not us throttling you. It could be just YouTube, because I've heard that from other channels. Linda's asking, what does a shadow government mean exactly?
A shadow government, to me, that's why I said as I did. Some people refer to it as a shadow government. It's a government in absentia. It's a government that's kind of got people in place that kind of parallel people that are in place in the real government. So you've got somebody like Obama. He would be watching President Trump and trying to figure out what President Trump's going to do, and then apply what Trump's going to do to Obama's agenda, what he wants to do. Then there would be somebody that would be like the head of the CIA or the FBI. It's just people that are there basically to dog, to follow, to watch the present government. And then I would assume, my opinion, my assumption, I would assume being ready at some point when, if this government, the one we have today, if it were to fall, they would have a standing government ready to take their place. So if the coup attempt is successful and they can transform our form of government, they've got in place then this new government ready to go into action. Does that make sense at all? I don't know if it does.
Yeah. Pam is double checking. Trump can replace judges in his second term, correct? Yes.
Yes.
What do you think about the letter President Trump sent to Pelosi?
I don't know what it said. I don't guess. What?
I don't know.
I'm sorry, Pam. I don't know what it said. I'm sorry. I guess maybe I should know, but I don't.
Sally's concerned that the latest executive order is an attack on our First Amendment, so she's lost her confidence in President Trump.
I'll say that again.
Sally says the latest executive order is an attack on our First Amendment, so she's lost her confidence in Trump.
Well, I do not know the executive order to which you speak, but please don't lose confidence in President Trump. He's doing the best he can do. I can promise y'all that. He's doing the very best he can do. Now, he is not a professional politician. As we have seen, he can be at times hoodwinked by those people around him and lead him in a direction that we wished he wouldn't have gone. I mean, that happens. But don't lose confidence in President Trump simply because of what you haven't seen happen, or what's not happening fast enough, or maybe he's not doing exactly what you would do or want to be done. Nobody's going to please all of us, guys. You understand me? Nobody. Nobody is going to be able to please every one of us.
Sally was referring to the anti-Semitism executive order.
Well, I don't think it was that harmful, but that's me. That's an interpretation that each one of you need to make for yourself.
Is anything being done investigation-wise still with Uranium One?
Yes. Yes.
Good. Kim is saying that, scroll back up. Where'd it go? Kim is saying if you don't vote or you vote for the Democrats, you're voting for communism and socialism. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. That is absolutely 100% as simple and as truthful as you can get right there. Can't say it any better. Now back to the Uranium One. Let me assure you, all things around Uranium One, Iran, the money on the tarmac, Hillary, all of that, yes, is very much under investigation. Very much. Now, it will not meet the priorities of some of the other people like Comey, McCabe, etc., and the coup attempt. It's not ahead of that priority, but it is very much under investigation and scrutiny. A lot of things were done wrong there. Part of the problem, however, is things that were done that were approved by the sitting and standing president of the day. Not much can be done, sort of. I need to stop. I need to not tell you any more about that. Just know it's under investigation, yes. What else?
What's the FISA court going to do after being played for fools?
That all depends on what happens with the upcoming audit and FISA review generally, but it needs to be reevaluated. I do see some purpose for a FISA court, but I can't say that there's some purposes that I might see for there being one don't anywhere near match my concerns and about in America, we don't need star courts. We don't need star chambers. And that's what it basically is. So I would have to see what they do in this audit to redefine rules and regulations around that court. If it is to stand as it has been, we need to get rid of it. It needs to be done away with.
Yeah.
Now, if there's some way to modify its rules and regulations and oversight to where it can be more open and just, fine. But I don't know what that would be. What else?
Okay, the title of the president's letter to Pelosi is called "Trump Accuses the Democrats of Subverting Democracy in a Blistering Letter to Pelosi."
Without seeing the letter, I can't comment any more than what you just told me. And I don't disagree at all with what you just said. Now, what the contents of the letter say, I don't know. But as far as the title, yeah, I can go along with that. That's exactly what they're doing. What they're actually doing, in case you haven't figured it out, folks, is they are working out a plan to basically remove our ability to choose our leaders. They're actually coming up with a plan that if they go through with it, now and forever, they are damaging the ability of we, the people, to vote for those that we choose to be the leaders in our government. That's what they're doing. They're getting rid of our ability to vote. That's what they're doing, folks. When there's another group that can sit outside, if you have an election, and however the election comes out, if that election does not agree with this ruling elite class, they're working out the plans right now to do away with the vote. We're kind of becoming Cuba and these other countries, communist countries. They have elections, folks. They do. But they don't mean nothing. When they have an election, if somebody gets elected that the elitist, the power, doesn't want elected, then they just overrule it and do away with it. And that's what they're doing here. What else?
And Diane thinks they're fixing the votes now already.
You know what? I'm sorry.
They're fixing the votes already with election fraud.
Of course. Of course. But election fraud and voter fraud, these are things that can be corrected. These are things that can be found out. These are things that somehow, to which I don't know what it is, but there are ways somehow, somebody somewhere can figure a way to stop that. But when they are literally positioning themselves to subvert any election that we have, you can't fix that. That's what they're doing now.
Will Michelle Obama run for president?
No, she will not.
Will the Clintons ever be tied to the execution of the 2 teen boys in Arkansas?
I doubt it. I doubt it. I don't want to say that, but I have to say that. If you're asking me to be honest, I don't think it's right for me to say something on behalf of my part. I can't bear the thought of saying something that could hurt the Ives family or the Henry family. I can't do anything to hurt them any more than they've been hurt. And to believe that the Clintons will ever be held accountable for that, them personally, I don't think will happen.
Amanda would like you to repeat what you said with Jason, I think it was, about, sorry, somebody typed something and then I lose it. Oh, about the Democrats turning on their own party.
Well, about the Democrats turning on their own party.
Well, you had said something with Jason. I assume this is what she's referring to. You know, that with the chit system and so on, that not all Democrats are going to vote for the impeachment.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah, they're not turning on the Democratic Party, folks. What that is it's called dragging their votes. So what Pelosi's doing is she is counting all the votes that she's got. And all she needs is just enough votes to get it passed. You got it? She just needs enough votes to get it passed. Now, if there are any Democratic representatives that are in these districts where Trump won heavily, and it might hurt their reelection bid if they vote to impeach the president, what she's doing is looking at the number of votes, and when they get to the number of votes to impeach, these other people will be let free to where they can vote not to impeach him. That's all it is. They're just telling them, okay, you're safe. You can go ahead and vote to fool your constituents. You can vote like you're against the impeachment because we've got enough votes. We don't need your vote. That's all that is.
Joel is saying the Democrats are two-faced. Actually, everybody in Congress is. They manipulate what's going on to get talking points for their reelection, and it's crazy the kind of things that they pull off.
Well, what do you call it, Mary Ellen? What do you call it when you saw when you saw Chuck Schumer and you saw Mitch McConnell? They both gave their little speeches there on the floor of the Senate. They both gave their little speeches.
They're manipulating their bases.
Yeah. Yep. Now, what's happening? McConnell's telling you all the things. When the truth is, folks, it's already decided. They know what's going to happen. I've told you what's going to happen. They've already decided it. It's just for show. It's just, as Mary Ellen said, it's just to please their base. It's to give their base what their base needs to be happy.
Will the Clintons be tied to anything? For example, Uranium One?
They'll be tied to a lot. They'll be tied to a whole lot. They are not. Well, Bill is, I think, probably more free than Hillary. Bill's probably fairly free of any risk of prosecution, but not Hillary. Not Hillary. And although Comey and Loretta Lynch gave Hillary perpetuity bars from prosecution on several pieces having to do with the email stuff, there's still things available for prosecution.
I saw something interesting this morning with Maxine Waters and Jerry Nadler, both back in Clinton's impeachment days, saying this is not an impeachment, this is a coup against the president. But that's how they have flipped now with the coup that is actually happening against President Trump.
That's the way it is in Washington, folks. They count on the fact that all of us, the American people, have just incredibly short memories. And they use it on us.
Yeah. Somebody was asking about Paul Pelosi Jr. And he's just another example of what Hunter Biden has done. This is
Mhm.
this is why they don't want the long trial, because all this kind of stuff will come out on everybody.
That's right. What else?
Um, that's all that's everything. Unless I've missed something, that's everything I have seen.
Well, if you will, scan and make sure we haven't missed anything, and then I'm gonna beg out. My voice is just gone. I'm just.
Now I think I've got. I haven't read every Oh, what about Terry Reid? What happened to Terry Reid?
Last I heard of Terry, he had gotten fed up with everything, and the last time I talked to him, he was somewhere in Missouri selling real estate, but he wants no part of anything anymore. He's had enough.
Okay.
I understand where he's at too. Believe me, I understand how he feels. Look, it's been hard. It's been hard. Y'all have no idea what it's like and what it was like back then to come out against the Clintons. You just can't imagine the suffering, torture you go through. And it's enough to make many people just think they're doing the wise thing by just keeping their mouth shut. And a lot of people do just that, keep their mouth shut.
If people,
I'm sure there are those of y'all out there that hear me scratch and beg for help every day that can see where I would probably be way better off had I just walked away.
you may have been, but we would not. And so I think we owe you an incredible debt of gratitude. And with that being said, Larry's PayPal account is nicholslive@aol.com. Go to nicholslive.com, the website, and please order the book. He describes in here some of what it cost him and how hard it's been. And if you read between the lines and multiply what he says, you still aren't going to have a clue about how hard it was, but it'll give you at least a hint. And whoops, it's backwards here. I always go to the right when I should go to the left. The Never Socialism t-shirt, folks. We need a couple more people. People have been waiting a very long time to get their shirts, and we need a couple more people to place an order because we have to order them in batches, and we need a couple more people to order a t-shirt so we can place the order. So
yes.
nicholslive.com is the website. Go to the merchandise page to get the book or the t-shirt. And there's a donate page there that has a direct link to the PayPal account, nicholslive@aol.com. If you do not know how to do PayPal or want another way besides mailing cash or doing PayPal, my phone number is on the website. It is also in the description box down below the video here. And I can't type it in because I'm blocked from typing on my cell phone, and my computer doesn't have the digits I need to be able to type it in here. So get the phone number and call me. Text me is the best way, and I'll call you back, and we can talk about how much you want to donate and how is the best way to get it to Larry if you can't do PayPal and don't want to send cash in the mail. Larry, we've been almost an hour here, so I think
I'm fixing to get off, but thank you all. Now tomorrow I may not be able to do the program.
Yeah,
I will leave that up because I'm having to get with a new group. So anyway, I don't know the schedule. The schedule may be so that I can't do the show tomorrow, but we'll post it, let you know. Okay.
I will do. If you don't do it, I will do something. No, I
Okay.
I don't think we'll be able to have Ellie on with us tomorrow because she's got some things going on that would preclude probably her being able to speak tomorrow. So, but I have a couple things that, if you don't mind my being who I am,
No, not at all.
we can talk
Not
about.
at all.
And Larry, if we decide soon enough, I could contact Dave Dovenmeyer and ask him if he could come on.
That'd be wonderful. You might ought to go ahead and do that.
Let's just go ahead and do that, because what I would like to share is something he actually brought up this morning that I was very impressed with. Larry, I told you about it a little while ago.
Yeah. Let me just say this, folks. I've got to go, but let me assure you, Coach Dave Dovenmeyer he's a crackerjack. He's somebody to hear and listen to. And with that, Marilyn, you'll talk, but I'm out of here. All right, baby.
Go ahead. Thanks, Larry, for being here.
Thanks.
And pushing yourself so much. Goodness. So, folks, do something. I haven't seen anybody type in here that he's willing to do something. Claire, the long trial, we all would like to have a long trial because we have the hope that the corruption will be revealed. And we hope, as the president does, that he could have the long trial to bring out the corruption going on. The problem we face with a long trial is so many of the Republicans are involved in the kind of shyster deals that we have now seen Pelosi's son and Hunter Biden being involved in. So many of the Republicans are also getting information that way. I found out that let's just say it this way. There were members of Congress, Republican members of Congress, that we would or should have a high level of confidence in because of their conservative Christian moral stand, that we would expect to do the right thing, who were paid to vote for the TPP, which sent our jobs to China. So, when we've got that kind of thing going on, I mean, we've got corruption at every level. If anybody who's been in more than one term, certainly more than 2 terms, has been bought, or they're not allowed to stay in, the Republican Party will make sure they don't have money to stay in office if they're trying to stay true to their commitment to their constituents and to doing what's right. So, like Larry said, everybody in DC lies. They get kickbacks. I mean, to see what is coming out with Biden and to realize they're all doing this. I was on the phone with somebody yesterday discussing the earthquake, the 6.9 earthquake that the media is saying happened in the Philippines. And we were talking about that. I was on the phone with somebody last night talking about that, and it hit me. I wonder, because the person I was talking to was on the phone with somebody in the Philippines. They said, yeah, they heard a little bit of rumbling and felt it shake a little bit, but it wasn't any kind of 6.9 or the extreme problem or devastation that the media was suggesting. And it dawned on me, I wonder if they're going to try sending aid, voting for aid to the Philippines, and who's going to go over there to make the arrangement. It is a scam they are pulling, that we get to put our tax dollars into the hands, the pockets of the elite. That's what's going on. They get the money and very little gets to the people. Like Larry said yesterday, look what happened with Katrina. How many people got homes? How many people had their homes rebuilt? How many people actually saw the funds that supposedly were given for aid to Katrina? How many corporate builders got lots of money and then maybe didn't even do anything? So, yes, these branches are serving themselves, and they're not. What could replace it? That's an easy answer. Vote out everybody who's in office right now. All the aid, yes, Amy, is a scam. Vote out who's in office right now. The people who wrote our Constitution, our founding fathers, never intended politics to be a career. People were supposed to go in for one, at most two terms, no retirement, no perks. They got in, they served, and they went home back to their normal jobs. And their future retirement fees were all on what they could earn from themselves and set up for themselves. So all this stuff that is being done was never the way it was supposed to be. And Jane, you are correct. What the elites are doing is beyond what we can imagine, and that's part of why they get away with it. Like Larry said, tell a lie big enough that nobody will believe it. You say it often enough, and they will believe it. So they lie. We believe the lie because we hear it over and over and over again. But what they do is so evil. It is so outside what we consider the norm that we can't believe it really is happening. I mean, when Larry said yesterday that we don't want to know how bad it is, do we really want to admit that we are paying taxes and most of the money in taxes we are paying is not coming back to build our roads and our infrastructure? It is going into the pockets of the elite. Do we really want to admit that? For him to reveal the kind of things that are really going on, he didn't think we could handle it. And that's why he said, I'm not going to tell you everything that's going on because I don't think you can handle it. No, we are not being served. And remember, Larry used to do orientation and acclamation. He did it for both parties. He's probably the only one in American history that gave the orientation to both parties. And one of the speeches he gave to the incoming members of Congress was forget what the promises you made to your constituents in order to get you voted in. That was just what you said to get here. Now you raise money. That is all you are to do is raise money. You have to spend at least 40 hours a week raising money for the party. If you want to do something for your constituents, you do it on your own time. And the chit system they have where they can call in your vote, and the only reason they cannot force you to vote for something that goes against your conscience is if you are close enough to an election that it will get you voted out. In that case, like he said, in that case, that's what we see some of these Democrats doing. They won't vote for the impeachment because they voted in an area, a district that was Trump supporters, and they know they'll get voted out. And well, thankfully, Chelsea admitted this. There are a few people who, even if they're corrupt, sometimes they'll let things slip. Sometimes they'll tell the truth if they think it'll help their cause. So, the games that they're playing, remember, most of the time, just about every time they open their mouth, they are lying about something, and the opposite is true. And Larry has told me on multiple occasions that he would never run for office because he knows the temptation that exists for corruption. And with what he has been through and how hard it has been, it was one thing to tear up $1 million check decades ago when they tried to pay him to, they tried to call off the dog basically to stop going after the Clintons. And they had $1 million check, and Pastor Ernie Sanders stood there right beside Larry and watched him tear up the check. And he said, no, I'm going to do what's right. And, it's been hard for him to live with himself and what it's cost his family. And I will say once again, if you buy the book, 28 Years to Nowhere, at nicholslive.com under the merchandise page, he talks about what it cost his family. And I know what he said here totally minimizes how bad it is. When you think of his health, the stress he has been under all these 30 years, and that stress is multiplied right now many, many times, which is why we need to help buy his medication that keeps him alive and keeps him in the fight. I cannot imagine what would happen with our government if we didn't have Larry pushing in whatever way he's able to push. He can get things done. He can make things happen, which is helping to preserve our freedom. So, folks, if you've got even $1, send it to Larry, please. If that's all you can do, do that. So, I don't think so, Sally. So I'm not even going to repeat what you said. I don't think so. Certainly, the pressure on our president has got to be horrendous. And Claire, that's a great suggestion, but again, I'm not going to repeat that here. With that, folks, please do whatever you can for Larry. And thank you for being here. We will see you tomorrow, and I will get on the email right now and see if Dave Doblemeyer can join us tomorrow. If he can't, I will tell you what he said this morning, and we'll take it from there, and maybe we'll just have a small show tomorrow, short show. We'll see. Thanks for being here. God bless you, and talk to you tomorrow. Bye.